What happens when a CEO goes undercover at his own hotel, only to be refused a room for a shocking reason that leaves him speechless? Ethan Carter stood across the street from the Grand Pinnacle Hotel, one of the crown jewels of his hospitality chain. What had once been a single boutique hotel was now a growing network of luxury establishments across the country, a brand built on elegance, comfort, and impeccable service. Yet lately, troubling rumors had begun to swirl. Rude staff, overbooked rooms, guests being turned away without reason. Ethan had built his company on the belief that hospitality meant putting guests first, but these complaints suggested otherwise. His managers assured him the issues were minor, but Ethan wasn't convinced. So here he was, in a worn-out jacket, scuffed shoes, and a faded backpack, about to go undercover as an ordinary traveler. He adjusted his glasses, glancing at his reflection in the hotel's large windows. To the staff, he was just another weary guest. Perfect. The lobby was breathtaking. Polished marble floors, sleek leather seating, and a crystal chandelier that glittered like 1,000 stars. But something felt off. The front desk clerk, a sharp-faced man in his early 30s named Marcus, barely glanced up from his phone as Ethan approached. "Checking in?" Marcus muttered, still scrolling. "Yeah," Ethan said, offering a smile. "I was hoping to get a room for the night." Marcus sighed heavily, setting his phone down like it pained him to do so. "Name?" Tom Reed," Ethan said, using his alias. "I don't have a reservation, but—" "Then you're probably out of luck," Marcus cut in. "We're full." Ethan frowned. "Oh, well, I checked online before I came and it showed availability. Are you sure?" "Yeah," Marcus said flatly. "Website must be wrong. Could you double-check?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice calm. With an exaggerated sigh, Marcus clacked on his keyboard for a few seconds. "Nope, nothing." He leaned back in his chair. "Sorry." His tone suggested he wasn't sorry at all. "I see," Ethan said slowly. "Well, is there a cancellation list? Or maybe a—" "Look," Marcus interrupted. "I told you, we're full. Now, unless you want to pay for one of the premium suites, and I'm guessing you can't, you're wasting my time." Ethan's brow furrowed. "I thought this place was known for helping guests." Marcus snorted. "Yeah, well, guests that belong here." He eyed Ethan's worn-out shoes. "People who know how to dress for the lobby." Ethan's chest tightened. Was Marcus judging him based on his appearance? "I'll just find another hotel," Ethan said quietly, stepping back from the desk. He lingered nearby, pretending to check his phone while watching Marcus. Moments later, a couple entered, sharply dressed in designer outfits, rolling sleek luggage behind them. "We don't have a reservation," the man said. "Any chance you've got a room for us?" Marcus beamed, his entire demeanor shifting. "Of course. We have a deluxe suite available. Best in the house." "I thought you were full," Ethan muttered, to himself. Ethan spent the next hour wandering the lobby, quietly observing. He saw Marcus turn away 2 other guests, both dressed modestly, claiming the hotel was fully booked. Yet he eagerly offered rooms to well-dressed, wealthier-looking guests. The pattern was undeniable. Marcus wasn't denying people based on availability. He was profiling them. But Marcus wasn't working alone. From across the room, Ethan spotted Dana, the assistant manager, chatting with Marcus in hushed tones. Marcus smirked and gestured toward another tired-looking couple being turned away. Dana laughed quietly, shaking her head as if the struggling travelers were beneath her concern. Ethan clenched his fists. This wasn't just one bad employee. This was a toxic culture seeping through his hotel, and he was determined to expose it. As Ethan considered his next move, a soft voice nearby caught his attention. "Please, I just need one night." Ethan turned and saw a young woman, early 20s, dressed in a worn-out hoodie, pleading with Marcus. Her face was pale, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry," Marcus said coldly. "We're full." I just need somewhere safe to stay tonight," she insisted. "Please." "Not my problem," Marcus snapped. "Maybe if you'd planned ahead." "I was evicted today," she blurted out. "I don't have anywhere else to go." For a moment, Marcus faltered. But then his smirk returned. "Like I said, not my problem." Ethan's stomach twisted. He watched as the woman turned, her eyes filled with tears. She clutched her small bag tightly and shuffled toward the exit. "Miss!" Ethan called, hurrying after her. "I'm fine," she muttered, wiping her eyes. "I'm used to this." "You shouldn't have to be," Ethan said firmly. "I'll help you find a safe place for the night." The young woman stared at him with uncertainty. "Why would you do that?" she asked. "Because," Ethan said quietly, As they walked toward the exit, Ethan glanced back at Marcus, who was still laughing with Dana. Tomorrow, Ethan wouldn't be walking in as Tom Reed. Tomorrow, he'd be back as Ethan Carter. And things were about to change. The next morning, Ethan returned to the Grand Pinnacle Hotel, this time as himself. Gone were the worn-out clothes and tired traveler act. Now Ethan wore a tailored navy suit, his hair neatly styled. As he strode through the entrance, heads turned, staff straightened their posture, smiles widened, the energy shifted instantly. Ethan approached the front desk, where Marcus stood, once again. The same arrogant smirk was plastered on his face. "Good morning, sir," Marcus greeted, his tone syrupy sweet. "Welcome to the Grand Pinnacle. How can I assist you?" "I'd like to book a room," Ethan said evenly. "Absolutely," Marcus beamed. "We have several suites available, our finest accommodations." "Funny," Ethan replied. "Yesterday you told me the hotel was full." Marcus blinked, momentarily thrown off. "Oh, I must have gotten my wires crossed." "I doubt that," Ethan said flatly. "I watched you turn away multiple guests yesterday, while giving suites to people who looked wealthier." "Sir, I assure you, I'm not finished," Ethan cut in. "I also saw you humiliate a young woman who was clearly desperate for help." His tone sharpened. "That's not just bad service, that's cruelty." Marcus's smile faltered. "Look, I just follow management's guidance. If you've got a problem, take it up with them." "Don't worry," Ethan said coldly. "I plan to." Ethan marched to the back offices, bypassing surprised employees until he reached Dana's office. The assistant manager sat at her desk, sipping coffee. She glanced up and froze when she saw him. "Mr. Carter!" Dana gasped, scrambling to her feet. I didn't know you were coming." "I know," Ethan replied. "That's the point." Dana swallowed, hard. "Is there a problem?" "I spent yesterday watching you and Marcus decide who was worthy of a room," Ethan said, his voice low but firm. "You profiled guests based on their appearance and treated people like garbage, including a young woman who was desperate for help." "That's not fair," Dana shot back. "We have standards to maintain. If we start letting just anyone stay here, it hurts our reputation." "Our reputation?" Ethan repeated, incredulous. "Our reputation is built on exceptional service and respect. Not arrogance. You've turned this hotel into an exclusive club for people who look the part." Dana crossed her arms. "I was doing what's best for the business." "No," Ethan said coldly. "You were doing what's easiest for you, and you've humiliated guests in the process." "With all due respect," Dana sneered, "this is how hotels work." "Not my hotels," Ethan said sharply. "As of now, you're suspended. Gather your things." Dana's face drained of color. "You can't be serious." "I am," Ethan said firmly. "And if I find out this behavior was encouraged by higher management, there will be bigger changes coming." Dana stormed out, muttering under her breath. Ethan exhaled deeply. There was still more work to do. Later that afternoon, Ethan asked his team to track down the young woman Marcus had turned away. After some digging, they found her name, Maya Reed, and learned she had spent the previous night at a nearby shelter. Ethan drove there himself. The shelter was small but clean, with chipped paint and faded curtains. Maya sat at a corner table, staring at her phone, her expression distant. "Maya?" Ethan asked gently. She looked up, startled. "Oh, you're the man from yesterday." "I was, hoping I'd find you," Ethan said. "Look, what happened back at the hotel wasn't right, and I want to make it right." Maya gave a tired laugh. "Yeah? What are you going to do? Buy me a mansion?" "No," Ethan said. "But I want to offer you a room, free of charge, for as long as you need to get back on your feet." Her smile faded. "Why would you do that?" "Because," Ethan said quietly, "I own that hotel. And what happened to you never should have happened." Maya's eyes widened. "Wait, you're the owner?" "I am," Ethan nodded. "And I'd like to fix this, if you'll let me." For a moment, Maya just stared at him. Then her face softened. "Okay, I guess I could use a place to shower that isn't coin-operated." "I'll take care of everything," Ethan promised. That evening, Ethan personally escorted Maya back to the hotel. This time, Marcus's face paled when he saw her return, especially when Ethan walked in beside her. "Marcus," Ethan said, voice cold. "You remember Maya, don't you?" Marcus's mouth opened, but no words came out. "She'll be staying with us, as my personal guest," Ethan continued. "And I expect her to receive the same courtesy you'd offer anyone else." He leaned closer. "Understood?" Marcus stammered. Yes, sir. Absolutely." "Good," Ethan said. "Because tomorrow we're having a serious conversation about." As Ethan walked Maya to her room, he knew the hardest part was still to come, changing the culture that had taken root in his hotel. But for now, one thing was certain. Maya had a safe place to rest, and Ethan was determined to make sure no one else would suffer the same treatment again. The next morning, Ethan arrived early at the Grand Pinnacle Hotel. Maya had checked into her complimentary room the night before, but Ethan knew her situation was only part of a larger problem. His staff needed to understand that this wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal of everything his hotel chain was meant to stand for. He gathered the employees in the lobby, their faces tense with uncertainty. Marcus and a few others stood off to the side, looking defensive. Lena, a young front desk clerk who had always shown potential, stood quietly near the back. "I know you're all wondering why I'm here," Ethan began. "I didn't come just to fire a few people and walk away. I came because this place, my place, has lost its way." The staff exchanged uneasy glances. "Yesterday, I watched as guests were treated with arrogance and disrespect," Ethan continued. "People were turned away, not because there weren't rooms available, but because they didn't look wealthy enough. That's not just bad service. It's cruel. And it's unacceptable." His gaze locked on Marcus. "And some of you seemed to enjoy it." Marcus stiffened, but said nothing. "I built this company on a promise that everyone who walks through these doors would be treated like a valued guest," Ethan said. "If you can't commit to that, you don't belong here." "So, what happens now?" Marcus asked, arms crossed. "You're just going to fire anyone who messes up?" "No," Ethan replied coolly. "I'm going to hold people accountable, starting with you." "You can't blame me for this," Marcus shot back. "Dana told me to prioritize high-end guests. She said those low-budget travelers just waste our time." "Dana's gone," Ethan said firmly. "But don't think that excuses your actions. You didn't just follow orders, you made it worse." His eyes narrowed. "I watched you mock people who were struggling." "I was just doing what I thought was best for business," Marcus grumbled. "No," Ethan shot back. "You were doing what was best for you, and for that, you're fired." Marcus's face reddened. "You can't be serious." "I am." Ethan's voice was like steel. I won't have people like you representing my company. Marcus stormed off without another word. The room remained silent as Ethan turned back to the rest of the staff. Anyone else think what happened yesterday was acceptable? He asked, letting his gaze sweep the room. No one spoke. Good, Ethan said. Because now, we do things differently. Lena, Ethan said, turning to her. You've been here a while, right? Lena blinked, startled. Yeah, almost 2 years. I remember you, Ethan said. I read your file, no complaints. Guests leave positive feedback when you're on shift. He smiled, slightly. You're exactly the kind of person this hotel needs more of. I try to treat people how I'd want to be treated, Lena said quietly. That's exactly why, Ethan said. Starting today, you're the new front desk supervisor. Me? Lena's eyes widened. I'm not sure I'm ready. I am, Ethan said confidently. I need people here who care about guests, no matter how they look, how they dress, or how much they can spend. I believe you can help set that tone. I won't let you down, Lena said, her voice stronger now. I know you won't, Ethan replied. Later, that afternoon, Ethan visited Maya in her room. She opened the door cautiously, but smiled when she saw him. Hey, she said. Didn't think I'd see you again. I just wanted to check in, Ethan said. How's the room treating you? Honestly, Maya grinned. It's the best night's sleep I've had in weeks. I'm glad, Ethan said. But I also wanted to offer something more. If you're interested, we have an opening in our housekeeping team. It's part-time, but it's steady work, and it comes with free lodging for employees. Maya's smile faded. I don't know. I'm not. Really, she trailed off. I'm not sure I belong here. If anyone belongs here, Ethan said firmly, it's you. You deserve better than what you've been given. Maya wiped her eyes quickly and nodded. Okay, yeah, I'd like that. That evening, Ethan gathered the staff one last time. This is more than just a fresh start, Ethan told them. This is about reminding ourselves why this hotel exists in the first place, to make people feel welcome, no matter who they are. From now on, we focus on service, not status. He turned to Lena. I know change isn't easy, he said, but if we're going to fix this place, it's going to take all of us. Lena smiled. I think we can do it. I know you can, Ethan replied. And I'll be right here with you, every step of the way. A week later, the Grand Pinnacle Hotel felt like a different place. The tension that once loomed over the staff was lifting, and guests, no matter their background, were being greeted with warmth and respect. Ethan had spent the past several days observing, coaching, and reinforcing new standards with his team, but he knew the real test wasn't in what he said. It was in how his staff responded when they believed no one was watching. That evening, Ethan decided to quietly observe the lobby. He sat near the far corner of the room, nursing a cup of coffee, blending in as just another guest. Moments later, a man walked through the entrance, middle-aged, his clothes dusty from travel. He looked exhausted, clutching a duffel bag like it contained his last few valuables. Ethan immediately recognized the type, a traveler likely down on his luck. Marcus would have turned him away without hesitation. The man hesitated at the front desk before approaching. Lena was working the desk that night. Hi, the man said quietly. I don't have a reservation, but I was hoping maybe you'd have a room. Lena offered a warm smile. Of course, she said. Let me see what we can do. She clicked through the computer. We have a standard room available. It's one of our more affordable options. Will that work for you? Yeah, the man said, clearly surprised by her kindness. That'd be perfect. We also have a complimentary drink station, Lena added. Looks like you've had a long day. Feel free to help yourself after you're settled in. Thank you, the man said softly. I really appreciate it. As the man walked away with his room key, Ethan smiled. The difference was already taking root, and it wasn't just policy, it was attitude. Later that evening, Ethan walked past one of the guest floors when he noticed Maya quietly adjusting a set of fresh towels outside a room. She wore the staff uniform now, neatly pressed, her name badge shining on her chest. "How's it going?" Ethan asked with a smile. Maya turned, startled at first. "Oh, good," she said. "Honestly, better than I expected. Everyone's been really nice." "I'm glad," Ethan said. "If you ever need anything, my door's always open." Maya hesitated, then spoke softly. "You know, most people wouldn't have given me a chance." Her voice faltered. "Especially after, well, everything." "Everyone deserves a second chance," Ethan said firmly. "You've earned yours." Maya's smile widened. "Thanks, Mr. Carter. Really." The next morning, Ethan called a staff meeting in the lounge area. Employees gathered quietly, unsure of what to expect. "I know the past week has been a lot," Ethan began. "I've asked you to change the way you work and the way you treat people, and I know that isn't easy." He paused, looking at their faces. "But I've seen the difference. I've seen people step up. People like Lena, who's been showing guests the kindness they deserve." He nodded toward her. "And Maya, who's already proving herself as a hard-working, valuable part of this team." Maya's face turned red as a few employees smiled and nodded in her direction. "I'm proud of what I've seen here," Ethan continued. "But this isn't a one-time fix. We need to carry this forward, every day, with every guest." He paused, his voice firm, because no matter how expensive the rooms are, no matter how fancy the lobby looks, this hotel is nothing without respect, kindness, and dignity. That's what hospitality means. A quiet murmur of agreement swept through the room. Employees seemed more relaxed, some even hopeful. "If we keep this up," Ethan added with a smile, "the Grand Pinnacle will be the kind of place I always dreamed it would be." Before leaving that evening, Ethan found Maya at the employee break room. He handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked, puzzled. "Your first paycheck," Ethan said, "with a bonus to help you get back on your feet." Maya's eyes widened. "Mr. Carter, you don't have to." "I know," Ethan said, smiling warmly. "But I want to." Tears welled in her eyes. I don't know how to thank you." "Just keep doing what you're doing," Ethan said. "And one day, when you get the chance," he paused, "help someone else the way you needed help once." Maya nodded, her voice catching. "I will." As Ethan walked out of the lobby one last time, he felt lighter. The Grand Pinnacle still had a long way to go, but today it felt like home again.